My mom is quite religious. And so you come from that kind of a household, like it's really difficult to do things that are unorthodox. So like your expectations from your parents are like, yeah, doctor or a lawyer or like, all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I was a bit of a smart kid. So there were a lot of expectations on me. I would not change my past in any way. Something that I kind of understood with time is that you just need to be easy on yourself. It's not always going to be like there's different phases in life. Your life can change in like 10 seconds. You never know, right? The main take for me from dental school generally, especially under my circumstances in India, super competitive, all those things, is that if you're going to do anything, you're going to do it at 100%, no matter what it is. Still, even after I graduated, I was like, okay, if there's ever an opportunity for me in music, I will take it whenever it comes. But it was more of an if it comes, not when it comes, if that makes any sense.
You're listening to the Men's Forum.
Your guide to being a better man.
Here we talk about everything to do with dealing with the nuances of life as a man.
This is your safe space to finding solutions to any problem you could be facing as a man.
We're your hosts Rajveer and Shalin, and we're sitting down with guests who share their personal experiences and insights, adding depth and new perspectives to our discussions.
Today we're joined by Aftab Sheikh, aka DJ AFU, whose life takes a turn from the conventional to the unexpected. AFU spent many years as a dedicated dentist before making a bold leap into the world of music as a DJ and a local club event organizer. In this episode, we're diving into AFU's mindset and the pivotal moments that propelled him from dental clinics to DJ booths. How does one go from practicing dentistry to pumping up the crowd in local clubs? What drives a successful career change? And what lessons has he learned from both worlds? AFU will share valuable life advice from his unique experiences, insights that can inspire anyone contemplating a significant change in their professional or personal life. Whether you're considering a career shift, looking to start a new venture, or simply curious about the life of a DJ and event organizer, AFU's story will offer plenty of wisdom and inspiration. Welcome, Aftab Sheikh, aka AFU. Welcome to the show. It's good seeing you after quite a few years before you were DJing.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us, introduce yourself. Yeah, welcome. Karibu.
Hey guys, I think I can just go by Afu for this. So I'm a DJ, producer, events director for The Alchemist. I'm the A&R and events curator for My Other Side of the Moon, which is an international record label. I was also, for most of my life, a dentist. I've just taken a bit of a break now, about a month ago. And yeah, here I am.
Dude, that is so cool. You know when Shalene told me about you coming onto the show, it's like, there's this dude who quit dentistry. And I'm like, no ways! I ain't quitting dentistry. This is going to be a fun conversation. So I want to dive into that. When you just came in and we were talking before the show, you mentioned that you took a break from being a dentist.
Yeah.
So you finished being a dentist. I mean, you finished dentistry. How long did you practice for?
I graduated in 2015, so it's almost 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
No, I can attest to that. You fixed 3 of my teeth.
Yeah,
So he does practice, that's for sure.
Shalin had a bit of an incident a couple of years ago, which I helped him out with. But so I studied dentistry in Delhi, in India. I was there for about 5 years or so, and then came back, started practicing. Actually, before you start practicing, you have to do an exam. It's like a licensing exam. So it's very difficult, but managed to get through. First attempt. Started practicing, joined the Aga Khan Hospital in 2016, I believe, on a part-time basis. Then I think I got the permanent contract the year after. And then I've been there since then until like basically last month as part of the furniture.
Nice.
Yeah.
So 8 years later, you took the call to be like, I want to dive into my passion, which is what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a backstory to this. When I was younger, my dad had an events company, and it was almost on a monthly basis. It was different music though from what I liked. It was like more like Indian artists in the UK, people like Stereo Nation. I remember B21, Bali Sagu, these kind of people. So my dad was bringing them in as a promoter. His business partner, was a DJ, SAK, if you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty big back in the day. So my dad used to be the GM of Sound Asia at the time, and so he got into all this stuff. And yeah, it was pretty interesting for us. Like me and my bro as kids, like we always loved music from the beginning. I mean, like I kind of was very clear that I wanted to do this when I was very young. Um, Problem is like when you come from a bit more of a, like my mom is quite religious, and so you come from that kind of a household, like it's really difficult to do things that are unorthodox. So like your expectations from your parents are like, yeah, doctor or a lawyer or like, all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately I was a bit of a smart kid, so there were a lot of expectations on me. Like yeah, I remember when I was in like primary school, it was like I was top 3 in the year usually. And if I wasn't first, my mom would be like, "Oh no, next time you have to." Like,
Oh, you didn't get whooped?
No, I didn't. No, there wasn't a physical aspect to it, but it was always like just getting pressure to do better and keep pushing yourself, and like So so there was that, and but I knew what I wanted to do as a kid. I already I understood it for myself, but it was just like the fear of like my mom being involved, and I knew she wouldn't take it well. So it just so happened that when my dad started this events company with SAK actually saw this in me as a kid, and he was like, "Oh, you know what? I think there's something there." So at the time, I was very lucky. He was living very close to my place, and so he would be like, "You know what? Why don't you just come over like this during the holidays? Yeah, just come over." He had a small studio room. What he would do, like the first day, he opened the room, he showed me how to like set everything up and do everything. And then from then onwards, he would just open the door for me, and that's it. And I would just go into that room and I'd sit there from morning to evening, just practicing by myself. So for the most part, I am self-taught. And yeah, and I picked it up really well, and he was very impressed, and he was like, "Okay, you know what? You actually have this as like a natural talent." But unfortunately, my mom found out about it at some point. And as I expected, she didn't take it very well. She said, "Look, this is not a real job. It's not something that, is like accepted in our culture, in our religion, or whatever it is." And yeah, I mean, people are brought up in different ways. I kind of understand her perspective, but it was not for me, right? I mean, I wanted to do my own thing. So yeah, and then beyond that, like my dad had this company, and then I went to India. And while I was in India, I, lucky enough, I was part of this university that had a festival, a 3-day festival for about 30,000 people. And every year they would do this like 3-day festival, which had like music, it had like dances, it had like everything, rapping, like lots of different things on 2 different stages. And so when I got there, when I heard about this, I was like, I have to be part of this team, because I already had a background in events planning through my dad and stuff like that. I just understood the way it works. And so when I got there, and I told them about this, I was the only one to have experience in it before, like I've just come in my first year. So I was part of that. It was a 3-day festival. It was amazing. One of the stages was exclusively under me. And then for the main stage, I would cover some of the, when it comes to like bigger artists, like managing that, stuff like that. So that was like really good experience, because it's done on a much bigger scale, production wise, artist wise. Like, I mean, these are like proper superstars, that would come for those events. And yeah, I mean, I learned so much while I was there. I was also playing like a few events here and there. But then when it got to my 3rd year, I would say, I think it became, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but dental school is extremely challenging.
Yeah. I'm wondering how you got through first year, like with anatomy and everything.
Yeah, no, it's tough. Yeah. And the thing with India is, I think a lot of people outside India don't know this, but like getting into university generally is extremely difficult. Even getting into school there is difficult, but getting into university, especially a course like dentistry, which is limited by the government. So usually the government gives you an allowance as a university. You can only take normally it's either 50 or 100 students for medicine or dentistry or certain medical things. And so for my particular batch, it was 50. So it was super competitive. Now, in that, you had 2,000 to 3,000 people applying. And in the Indian grading system, they have a percentage. So like they were looking at a percentile of, I think, 95% plus. So already super competitive to get in. Then after you've gotten in, I mean, within that, now you're around these people who are like nerds, you know, like their life is just studying. And so getting through that, I mean, even within those 50 people, only 30% graduated at the end.
Wow.
And I was, I was
that's
part
amazing.
of that 30%. So, okay, so what happened was in my third year, I thought that I couldn't do both. I couldn't do dentistry and then also like do product. I was trying to produce music. I was trying to like DJ. I just felt like it was pulling me apart, and I just felt too stretched. And I felt like also in the long term, it would be safer to go with dentistry. So I decided to quit. And I was okay with it. I didn't ask anyone about it. I didn't need anyone's assurance or whatever, like anyone's advice. I knew that I was doing the right thing for me at the time. And it worked out, I guess. I managed to graduate. And and after, I was still, even after I graduated, I was like, okay, if there's ever an opportunity for me in music, I will take it whenever it comes. But it was more of an if it comes, not when it comes, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And and then I came back. I didn't do anything music related for my first couple of years. That's when I met Charlene, I think. Focused specifically on dentistry. I think I got to a certain level where I was more comfortable. Then I wasn't even going out. I think.
Yeah, you never used to go out. Yeah, whenever we'd ask you, you'd be like, no, it's not my thing.
I got back late 2015. I think that was around the time Alchemist opened. I didn't go to Alchemist until like late 2017 or 2018, I think. That was my first time there. It's just an example. But basically, I wasn't going out. I thought that I needed to focus on my career to the point that when I get to a certain level, then I can start doing these other things. So first 2 years was just primarily focused on just getting my license. Got my license 2016. Started working, got into the hospital. Yeah, I think it was around 2017 I got my permanent contract or something. And then, just took it from there, you know.
You mentioned your turning point was during COVID. So how did the opportunity come through to you?
Okay, so I've had this story, what I've just told you now, and I've always had it. And I've always had the passion for it. So like even after, I think it was around 2018, I just bought myself like a small controller, like a DJ controller, just for me. No expectations, nothing. Like I just had it for my room and I'd be happy to just play on it by myself. Didn't put out any sets online or anything. It was just purely for my entertainment, or like just when I was at home. In 2020, during COVID, I think a lot of people were really affected by it and stuff, of course, as was I. But when I started going out, I think it changed me in a different way. It made me a bit more social as well. Through most of my life, I was a bit of an introvert. I became an extrovert when I went to India, because there I just felt like I could be whoever I wanted to be. I don't know if you guys agree, but like going to school in Nairobi, and then when you go out, you just see the same people over and over again. So no matter what you do, you feel like there's eyes on you, you know, everywhere. And when I went to India, I mean, you're living in Delhi, it's a city of over 25 million people. No one has time to like look at what you're doing, to be honest. I loved it. I could just do anything I wanted to, and I didn't feel like someone was watching me. I just felt like very free. During the COVID time, I think as I'd become much more of an extrovert and found it difficult because, you know, the first couple of months no one was going out, stuff. And I think when the clubs reopened, somewhere towards the end of 2020, I think it was September, if I'm not wrong, I was sitting with one of the DJs at Alchemist, who was at the time running the programming as well. And it was a Friday evening. I had no business being there, but it was just like, I just felt like I wanted to be social. Also, like at the time there was curfew, stuff like that. So clubs wouldn't be open for too long. I think I got there in the evening, and we were just chatting, and I told him about this. I told him about like my music thing, and like, you know, how my mom was like trying to deter me, and then how I quit eventually. And he asked me, if you got an opportunity to do it again, would you play a set? And I was like, yeah, of course. And he's like, can you play a set? I said, yeah, I have my little controller at home. Yeah, there's no problem. And just like, he was like, okay, cool. Next Saturday, you're playing the opening set here. Just like that.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
I have to explain. When I started going to Alchemist in 2017, 2018, whenever it was, I started going there so much that everyone already knew me. Okay, like, and I like to be a social guy. I'm not the kind of guy that would go to a place and not say hello to someone, like even the bouncers or the bar staff or even the guy in the washroom. Like the guy in the washroom at Alchemist now, you can ask him, like, there's no point at which I've met him and, you know, I've not like had a conversation with him. It's just kind of, it's just in my nature. And so I felt okay with it because there were people around me that I knew for this, but I was also unsure of like if this was something serious. So I asked him, like, dude, are you sure? Like, do you really think we should do this? Or because I was like, no pressure. I don't want to use my friendship to, like, you know, get into this just for the sake of it. And he's like, no, you know what? I'll give you a chance. And if it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, I'll tell you. Yeah. So no pressure. I was like, okay, that works for me. So I played a 7 to 9 p.m. set at Alchemist
For
on
2
a
hours,
Saturday.
that's big.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
big.
it's big, but generally for a regular night, 2 hours is okay. It's not long at all. But the thing is, it's 7 to 9 p.m., which means there's basically no one there. So what happened was, it was him and a couple of people who had specifically come to listen to me. And like, I finished and I thought it went well for me. And I got off and the dude just didn't even say anything like hello, anything, because he came in while I was playing. And what he said was, that was great. You're playing here now every weekend.
Whoa.
Just like that. And yeah.
What genre did you play when you opened?
So I was playing more like, I only play electronic music generally. I play more like house music, but I have variants in what I play. At the moment, I'm now gone fully into like Afro house as a producer and a DJ. For that particular night, I did play Afro house as well. So I think Afro house generally dominates the electronic music market in Kenya. So it's kind of like a safer bet to go into it if you want to play more events. So I mean, that's how it started. And I had just one thing with him. It was like, I wasn't going to take any money for this. So I would play twice a week for a full year. I played at Alchemist for free.
Whoa.
For free. And sometimes my name wasn't even on the posters, and it was completely fine with me because I felt like just having the opportunity was good enough.
I just want to rewind you back to when you were practicing dentistry. You bought all this for yourself. Did you ever feel at the back of your mind that it was a little sad that you were deterred from going down the route of what made you really passionate?
I would not change my past in any way. It would have been better maybe if my mom was more supportive, or I don't know what would have happened in that situation. But then I just feel like I feel like your life is a process, and I would not change mine for anything. I think I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with how things are going. Of course,
So you never had regrets at the time?
No, and like I said, when I quit in my third year, I quit for myself. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I was completely at peace with it. And for me, it was not it was not about when I would get back into it. Was if. If the opportunity came, I would take it. And if it didn't, I was completely fine with it. I don't do any of this stuff, even now, for money or for like fame. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm just happy like to be on stage and play music, like even whether there's 10 people there or sometimes I've played for a few thousand people. it just feels more or less the same.
I mean, I'm sure you play a 7 to 9 p.m. show for 1 year without getting paid.
Yeah, but it wasn't about the money. You see, like I felt like I was already making money, so I was obviously still working. I felt like I made enough money as a dentist. Now I have to like clarify one thing: as a dentist, would people assume you make a lot of money? It's true in certain elements. When you're an established dentist, you have your own clinic, maybe, or you have a really good clinic and you have a set clientele, all that stuff. Then you can make a decent amount of money. When you're a younger dentist working for a hospital, you're on a set salary, which is more or less similar to your government salaries, which is decent, but it's not what people think. Now, again, like I wasn't practicing for money either. Like I just felt like I was doing my part to help people. With anything I do, like even for practicing, I don't practice for money. I just felt like I was helping people out with what I was doing. While I was in India, after I graduated, I worked in a slum there for for 3 months. It was one of the most challenging experiences of my life. I just found this place. It was like 50 kilometers from my house, and I was going there every day. So I'd get into like a tuk-tuk, into a bus, into the metro, into a cycle rickshaw. Actually, you change 2 metro lines, and then into a cycle rickshaw to get to the place, and then the same way back. And every day it took me an hour and a half to get there and an hour and a half to get back. But again, I was doing it for free. In fact, I think I paid the guy to get me in, because he was also like teaching us, certain things, what to do. Like when you work in a slum as a medical practitioner, you get to see things that you wouldn't see generally outside. You wouldn't see it in like people maybe like us, or like, I mean, generally, outside the slums, you have people who have nothing, and like some of them they don't even know what a toothbrush is. So the kind of dentistry you do for those kind of people is intense.
But that's very noble as well.
Not only that, I mean, like it gives you a huge sense of gratitude for what you are.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you were an introvert
Initially, yeah.
and then you became an extrovert.
Yeah.
I've seen that transition, because we used to just chill 7 boys and smoke shisha and watch. And I think we used to play, what's that game called on the PlayStation? FIFA.
Yeah, those are good times.
It's such a huge topic for me, because I talk to a lot of people, and they say, "Oh, I'm shy, I'm an introvert, and that's just the way I am." But when you just said like I was an introvert and then I became an extrovert, like let's dive deeper into that, because I think it would help a lot of people out there, because they use that as an excuse to not go and grab life by the balls.
Okay.
And I feel like opportunity came to you because of being an extrovert.
So first of all, I have to say I wasn't an introvert by choice. It was my circumstances that made me an introvert. I was like the smallest kid in school, like the whole year. I'm not talking about just my class, for the whole year. So I was the shortest, and that subjects you to a lot of bullying throughout. I mean, and bullying is like really messed up. So it put me into a shell where I was like, okay, I didn't want to be around people, because I thought that they would always make fun. And they did, for the most part. And kids can be really mean, yeah? I mean, I took it because I didn't have a choice for most of that period. And so like that's how I became an introvert, because I just felt like scared to talk to people and stuff. And I think when I went to India, firstly, I'm slightly above average height, which is great. But also, like, I just felt like no one really had the time, to like look into your life or like make fun of you. Like, it was just, I don't know if you guys have been to Delhi, but like it's so fast paced. There's so much going on. People are like really just focused on what they're doing. There are like certain things, like, when you're living in an apartment and you have like girls come over, there will be like the neighbors will be like, oh, what's going on, But beyond that, like in terms of like your general life, your day-to-day stuff, going out, stuff like that, I don't think people really...
No one's judging you.
And no
No.
one cares.
No.
Like literally no one cares. Guys are so
Yeah.
engrossed in their lives.
Yeah.
I relate because I studied in
Yeah.
India pretty much at the same time. But
Yeah. So also the other advantage you have is you're not going to stay there longer, like long term. So no matter what these people think of me, at the end of the day, when I'm gone, I don't need to worry about it, right? So I became an extrovert there because of that reason.
So you kind of tell yourself that, okay, I'm going to this new place, nobody knows me, and now's my time to sort of shine, or did a new set of circumstances start making you an extrovert from there?
The realization came to me there when I was already in those circumstances. So when I got there, I was in like an international university. So we have like in Nairobi, we have an expat bubble. We were like the expat bubble, but in India. It was like a uni international bubble kind of thing because we were like 3,000 to 4,000 students from outside. And so we kind of like just made our own thing. I felt comfortable in it, but it was also, I started to understand that no one there had ever known me. So if I wanted to become a completely different person, there was no one to judge or stop me or like whatever, right? Because I was there alone. I'd never been there. I'd never been to Delhi in general. I'd never met anyone from Delhi. There was like really no circumstances to link me to that place. So it just made sense for me to open up and be like, okay, you know what? This is maybe where now I can actually be who I was. I wasn't being bullied or anything at this point, obviously, because I was past school. Yeah, and I think those kind of things really help to change your mindset, to like open you up to things that maybe you weren't so keen on before.
I think, there could be two kinds of people, or rather two scenarios. There's the scenario of yours where you said to yourself, hey, new place, and I'm just going to completely change my life.
Yep.
Other people, other men are called to that fork in the road, right? Where they can say, look, I'm in a new place, I can become an extrovert, or I can become social, or I can be who I want to be, who I really am.
Yeah.
Or I can use this as an excuse and play the victim and just continue being the way I was programmed to be. So what would you kind of tell someone like that?
Look, something that I kind of understood with time is that you just need to be easy on yourself. It's not always going to be like, there's different phases in life. There's so many phases in my life where I was like really, really badly off. Like I was on a downward spiral. First year of uni, I had like a really bad incident. My housemate, who was also my best friend at the time, he tried to, I mean, this is a bit dark, but he tried to kill himself. Wow. And I think what happened was I just kind of, I blamed myself for it because I didn't see it coming, and I felt like, no, I should have anticipated. He didn't die, but it was just one of those things where it was like, it was just really bad for me. Like I took it on myself to say that this was directly my fault. And and then I kind of, like, to be honest, I kind of became a bit suicidal myself. I was like, okay, if this is who I am, then I shouldn't, why am I alive, And I think it's really, like, a lot of people don't know this, but I was on call with my mom, and I was like, it takes a lot to say this, but I was on call with my mom and I said, I don't think I want to live anymore. And I was like serious about it, and like she calmed me down, and it was just one of those things. It's not easy to go through something like that, but now I know that I will never be in that situation again, because having gone through it, having gone through the worst moments of your life, you come out of it, and then you know how not to put yourself there again, right? Everything in that situation was not my fault. At all. This guy, he was going to kill himself over a girl. It had nothing to do with me. And when I look back in hindsight, I don't understand why I would even blame myself, but I did, you see? So it's one of those things. Look, you can take it upon yourself to say, okay, maybe I'm not a good person, or maybe there's this, and maybe there's that. But like with time, there's so many variables, so many things change. Like your life can change in like 10 seconds. You never know, right? For anyone that I feel is going through a phase that they're not happy with, or they're not, not mentally, they don't feel like they're where they want to be. All I can say is all you need to do is just get through it. That's it. Because getting through it gives you the strength to then not be in that situation again, to understand yourself better, to understand your circumstances better, and to know how to deal with it better. It's difficult, but I think that that's the way you should do it. It's just perseverance.
I was reading a book today, and it said, sorrows unmasked bring the greatest joys. And when I read that line, I'm like, okay, it does make sense, because what you went through is not easy, especially at that time when, social media wasn't big about mental health and, improving your thought processes and stuff.
Yeah.
And being influenced by thoughts, influence is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
You are influenced by your housemate's thoughts in terms of like, okay, he's suicidal. It kind of rubs off to you.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you came out of it, which is strong. Because you play very good music, and it would be sad.
You're welcome, Nairobi.
But no, it's tough talking about it.
And
I know it takes a lot to talk about it.
Yeah, thanks for opening up.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like I don't tell anyone, but if it can help someone, then why not? Like I've always, after that moment, I always felt like if there was anyone that needed help in any way to get themselves out of that situation, that I would try and make myself available as much as possible.
How did you do it? So how did your mom calm you down? And
no, she just kind of, so it was like at the time there was Skype. So it was a Skype call. I remember I was in my room. I was thinking, it's a bit messed up. I was thinking of ways in which I would be able to do it within the apartment. And just having that chat with her and just getting reassurance from her. This is why it's important also to have positive people around you. Because when you're in that downward spiral, if you don't have the right people, you're going to keep going down. So if I was lucky, my mom didn't panic. I think that was the best thing. She didn't panic. I was kind of expecting her to be honest, but she didn't. She was just very calm. She talked me down, and she made sure she spoke to me for like a few hours, like she was on the phone, on the Skype call, and she just really like talked me down, tried to explain everything. Also, like kind of reminded me of why I was there in a way. Like in as much as I was taking this dude's problems as my own, but like I wasn't there for him, right? I was there for me, and I mean I worked so hard to get there, It was just something like that. Like it was just that reassurance that you get from someone that you trust. It can change a lot.
And that simple realization in your mind, what
am I doing? It didn't come that day. It didn't come the day after. It took a while, but then eventually it did. It was just like at that time I was like, okay, this is a stupid thing to think about, but like in terms of killing yourself, but it's a bit difficult to talk about, but like generally I think having the right people around you is super important. I just on a side note, I had a friend that was in India. He was an Indian guy, and he had a crazy situation where he was dating this girl for many years. He was super in love with her. He used to talk about it like all the time, and he was very close to me because he was my neighbor. And I never met her, but like she basically like moved to another country. I think she was studying there, and then at some point I think she called him and she told him that she was cheating on him or something. And I didn't know about this because I didn't meet him immediately. I met him a while later. And what had happened was when he heard that, again, he took it on himself. He said it was his fault. Like he blamed himself for it instead of blaming the person who was actually at fault here. So again, understanding those things. Sometimes you don't. Maybe when you're a kid, when at that time, like mental health wasn't, it wasn't something that was spoken about. I think now people have a much better understanding of it. Yeah. But at that time, it was like people thought that, oh yeah, okay, now it's me. It's my fault. And so he attempted suicide. and he was saved by his mom like very last minute. It was like a whole thing, and then I didn't see him for that time because he had kind of like, they took him away and they like just tried to take care of him. So I met him like 2-3 months later. He told me this story, and he was much more comfortable talking about it at that time. Obviously, when it just happens, it's different. You can't. I think your sense of perspective is off. Like you're mentally not like in a stable position to like keep your thoughts together. So it's a lot of people have gone through this.
Also, being self-aware is very important because that's when you can have such a conversation in terms of your friends or the people who you're close to.
But it's tough. It's tough to have perspective. So I went through something similar. Went through a breakup, and then you sort of start losing how you start questioning your identity. And then, so for me, I was getting like suicidal thoughts. But again, how you mentioned, like if you surround yourself with the right people, the right positive people, that's where you can be safe.
Yeah.
I told one of my best friends at the time, like she was, we met after a long period of time, and she was telling me like all these happy stories and what she's up to, and I just looked at her and I'm like, I want to kill myself. And she looked at me. So like initially she gave me a small pep talk, but then I got home and I had this voice recording from her, and one sentence that stuck with me. She was like, that boy who quit third year of dentistry had all these dreams to be, who I am today, and you're letting that boy down.
100%.
Yeah, and that just stuck with me, and I was like, perspective shift, just like that.
And I'm glad you didn't do it because we have a bigger purpose. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, yeah. No, see, it's easy to joke about it now because that's what I'm trying to say. Like when you've already gone through it, how, like you can actually joke about it. You can actually bring it up in a conversation and you won't feel uneasy. Like obviously when it just happened or when it was going on, you would never think that way, right?
Yeah.
But people don't talk about it, right?
Yeah,
we speak about it right now so that they don't make the same mistake that we did. Because even, I think all of us sitting here right now, we've all tried may have stood on a 22nd floor ledge with one step away. So it takes a lot, there are other ideas, but I don't want to put it out. But it takes a lot to speak about it. And people don't understand how many battle wounds we come from just to open up about this. And it's not about like to get empathy or feel mercy or pity. It's more of like, hey, there's so many tools and people out there that you can go to and be like, dude, I have a problem. Just accept it. Yeah. And I think the next few steps are just easier.
Yeah. The one thing that I just would say to anyone that's in that suicidal kind of situation, I think the best thing is not to be alone. I think when you're alone and the thoughts take over, that's when you keep getting
spiraling further and further. Oh yeah, being alone.
Exactly, because when you start talking to people, and because the other person is not in that mindset, they will obviously help you. As long as they care about you, of course. But like generally, anyone in their right mind would obviously try and calm you down, talk to you about like how it's a bad idea, these kind of things. I think, like again, having the right people, but also the right people at the right time, right? Like you could have the right people, but if they're not there at that time, if you're alone and you end up doing something to yourself, then So I think it's just one of those things. If you ever start feeling something like that, just talk to someone. Talk to someone you trust. Just have a chat. Bring it up casually or whatever. Just get it out there, because the more you keep it to yourself, the worse it gets. Yeah.
Has music been some kind of therapy to you? Because it's always been with you pretty much all your life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think if you have something that you truly love, then it will also kind of take your mind away from such thoughts and such things. Like when I was a kid, like very young, and when I was being bullied and stuff like that, like when you're not talking to anyone, you try not to have many friends. What else is there to do, right? You have all this energy, but you have nowhere to put it. And I think like having music, having just some sort of a hobby. It doesn't have to be music. It doesn't even have to be art. Like it just could be anything at all. I think at this point, it's important for parents to understand that mental health is a very serious issue. I think like when we were growing up, it wasn't. The people didn't really think. People thought like mental health means you're like crazy or
Sick in
something.
the head.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a bit weird. And there are still people, I think, in like, in some places, like even some people in my family who are maybe not well aware, that might still have that kind of assumption. But I think it's important to first of all understand your child and understand what they're going through, and then focus that energy on something that will help them in some way or the other. My own case was a bit different. I think my mom was just more focused on religion, on like a whole cultural element. But I didn't really care about that. And it's funny, you see, like, I'm just going to be very honest here. I think when you keep getting forced to do such stuff, and when you're older, you just don't care about it anymore. It's just off my mind. Like anything that I learned when I was a kid, I would never want anyone to go through it again. Like, I mean, to go through what I did. I mean, not that it was bad, but it was just useless for me, right? So in terms of music, like, I think, like, one of my favorite things is just like when I get like a new track or something like that. It's still, even now, even like today, like I got this track and I was like, wow, this is just great. And it just sends you to another place. And yeah, again, channeling your thoughts and stuff like that, it makes sense when it comes to something that you're really passionate about. If you're in a bad place, having something like that can also help you. So you take it out on that in a way,
So channeling out all that you feel that is burdening you, and if you have a hobby, that's what I'm hearing out, it helps.
Yeah.
So can we call it a distraction, a positive distraction?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the greatest songs of all time have been written on with heartbreaks, like when people go through heartbreaks. So I mean, some of the best music, I can tell you, like, bro, I know people who've gone through like some really serious problems and come out of it and done like some insane music because when it comes to an art, when it comes to music, things like that, it's not something, when you want to make something special, there's no one who can tell you how to do it. Like, you have to be creative in a way that no one else thinks if you want to do something truly unique. So yeah, I guess yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, one of these things, if you are able to control your emotions, controlling your emotions is super important. Not just as a guy, I think for any person it's super important. If you're able to control that and then use it in a way that will eventually benefit you, or come out in a different way which is more creative, then yes, I think that's what it should be.
You're an event organizer,
Yeah.
at Alchemist,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's like a really big responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you manage your emotions when it comes to dealing with that aspect of your life?
Okay. I'll just tell you, like, first of all, managing events, organizing events, it's not as easy as people think. Okay, people think it's, oh yeah, you just wake up, I just pull this artist from out of my pocket. No, it doesn't work that way. Like, it's super, there's so much that goes into it. Now, in the way that I work is, we have the club team that we have the owners, the bar management, whatever. We have like set people at the club who do this on more of a day-to-day basis. But when it comes to my specific events, I work alone. Okay. And I probably do the kind of work that maybe 3 or 4 people would do in like a different kind of setup. The reason I work alone is I like to do things in a very particular way. Unfortunately, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I have a bit of OCD. So it's one of those things where I feel like I would rather put myself through it, like, run myself to the ground, but I know it's going to be done well. Sometimes I'll give like small responsibilities to certain people, just like here and there, but for the most part, I do it myself. Now, when it comes to the whole mental health element, what happens is there's a lot of stress. There's people pressuring you to give them events. There's people like international DJs messaging me, please, I want to come and play here. There's local, like the people who come to your events, they'll be like, I want to see this person. What's happened now is, because I'm social, everyone feels like I'm approachable. And this is not an advantage for me, because then you have to listen to everything from everywhere, right? You will see a lot of event organizers, club owners, promoters, DJs. They'll just be like, they'll come in, they'll do their thing, and they'll leave. many of them do that, and they try and like basically stay away from most people. This is one of those things. This is one of those reasons why they do that. Because it's difficult when like every night I just want to have a chill night. I want to like, maybe have some drinks, catch up with some friends, but I'll have like 20, 30 people come up to me and be like, oh yeah, when is your next event? Or like, I don't mind it when it comes to like general conversation, but when it comes to people starting to give me their opinions on things, and yeah, I think at that point now it starts to become a bit complicated.
So since you have so many events approaching you, right?
Yeah.
How do you learn to say no? Because that's very difficult in terms of like, let's be honest, you're a public figure, right? In the music industry now, especially in Kenya and Africa, because you're quite known. So how do you learn to say no in the most nice way?
Okay, I've learned with time that you have to just be honest. Like the event side is one of the things, but like also for the record label, because I'm the A&R. The A&R is like the person who signs the music. So you send demos to the A&R to listen to, and then they have to tell you whether they're going to sign it or not. Now, for most labels, you sign maybe less than 1% of the music that's sent to you, especially if you're a big label. So from that element, like I'm very lucky that I work with people, who are like the label owners, the club owners for Alchemist. They've been there to guide me through this. Yeah. Because there's no set like rule book or anything like that. No one can like teach you how to do this directly. Everyone has their own way. Yeah. There's no like set way. That's what I'm trying to say. So like, again, I've learned from like people who have more experience from me. These are obviously people who are older than me. They've gone through this for years, and so they understand what they need. And I just learn from them, basically. There's none of this knowledge is just like in my head. Like saying no to someone in a polite way, in a respectful way, especially when you're part of the label, it's difficult because someone might send you like 50 tracks in 1 month, and you have to say no to each one of them. It can like start to sound a bit condescending, but it's just because maybe it's not good, and no one wants to hear that word no, in whatever they say. Like even like organizers that come up to me and say, oh yeah, can I do this event at Alchemist? No one wants to hear it, but sometimes you have to understand that it's not about you. There are circumstances, there's protocols, there's like a way in which we do these things, right? And even though like it didn't work out now, it doesn't mean that it won't work out in the future. That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, just give it time, right? What I've started to feel is a lot of people in music are feeling this sense of entitlement. Maybe because they know people or they know me, and they feel like, oh yeah, he's my friend, he'll just do whatever I say. It doesn't work like that. I don't have any bias or any like preference, or I don't treat people that way. If I don't think that it's a good idea, I will not do it, and there's no convincing me. Again, you just have to kind of stick to your principles. When you know that something, it's also a gut feeling, right? When you feel like something isn't right, it's just probably better not to do it. Yeah.
Is there anything from dentistry that you've kind of brought over into?
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Great. But okay, not in terms of like.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I guess I don't know, disciplines or.
Yeah. Okay. So the like I said, like dental school is super competitive, and you have to do things in the right way, but you also have to like fully commit to it. And I think the main take for me from dental school generally, especially under my circumstances in India, super competitive, all those things, is that if you're going to do anything, you're going to do it at 100%, no matter what it is. But obviously for my circumstances, it's like I only do that when I'm completely sure as well, right? So yeah, that sense of like commitment came out of that sense of discipline. I mean, until last month, I was telling this to someone, I don't think, like now I'm waking up at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. sometimes. Like I've never in my, like in the time that I can remember, there was never a time I could do this on a weekday, When I was working for the hospital, There were times when I started my shift at 7 a.m., which meant like, I live across town. I live in like South Seasides. So to come to Parklands, I would have to wake up. At that time, I think I was waking up at 5:30 or something like that when my shift was 7 a.m. More recently, we changed to an 8 a.m. shift like the past 2-3 years. Even for that, like I was waking up maybe 6:30, you know. There was never a time that I was asleep when the sun was out during the week. Yeah.
And there was no expressway even at that time. I
There was
remember,
no
yeah.
expressway. That's exactly why you'd have to wake up early. And then more recently, the hospital decided to move me to Karen, and then that was again like just a longer journey. So again, you know, time-wise, it's just one of those things, man. Like discipline, you know, like these kind of things, they teach you like, okay, now I wake up, I have to be on it. You can't go to the hospital hungover or anything. Do your work. And one thing that I've really been blessed with, I think, is I don't get hangovers generally, but also like I'm quite responsible with stuff like this. I know that if I'm going to work the next day, Sunday night, there's no chance of getting drunk or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, and also like when you go through like medical school, generally you understand the kind of effects that these things have on you. So I have it as a thing. I don't do any drugs at all, like nothing, no weed, nothing like that. I don't smoke cigarettes. I'll drink occasionally maybe, but like not that much. You know, you start to understand how it affects you physiologically, and so I think it's one of those things where you know that, okay, this is just not right, and then you know how to limit it to some extent.
So how do you balance your life in terms, even right now, like how do you balance your life from, tell us about your day. Just start.
Okay.
Say it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, my day now is a lot more relaxed. Maybe I can tell you about before and then after. Yeah, so like my typical weekday before, especially if it's like a Friday or so, would be go to work. So I get up like 6:30, whatever it is, be at work by 8. I do a full shift till 5. I'd go home. This is when I was doing my master's. I'd go home by 6 to between 6 and 8 p.m. I'll probably like just chill a little bit, like eat something. 8 to 10 or so, or sometimes even beyond, I would have to study something. I had to like do an assignment, things like that. And then if I had an event, I would go to the event later. The good thing is like events are not usually that early. So if I was playing an early set, obviously the timing changes. But if I'm playing a late set, then I could show up at like 11 or midnight and it still is fine. Yeah. Now I can wake up whenever I want, which is nice. I'm not doing my master's, so I don't need to study anything. So like now, typically I wake up, I'll just probably do some stuff for the club or the label. It's every day is different. There's no set thing. Mostly I go physically to the club. The label is not based here, so that's different. But we do have the label heads are here, so then sometimes I have meetings with them. Yes, it's very flexible compared to my old like rigid schedule. This is very different.
For me, as someone who quit dentistry and going into adventuring, that was me into my passion with photography and videography. It's something that, you know, like how you mentioned at the start of the conversation, like music just kept finding its way to you.
Yeah.
Right? For me, photography and video kept finding its way to me. Yeah. But all of these people around me were like, no, finish, wait till the end, you know, be in the safe zone. Yeah. And you're making a big mistake if you quit. But I kind of cut out all that noise and I was like, I'm going for it. I don't care. And you kind of went down the direction of, I'm going to make peace with it. Yeah. And then let me just continue this journey. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of other people out there who make a choice like yours, but they can't come to peace with it. So what would you kind of say to those people? Like, do you agree with the programming of like, oh, being a doctor is better than being a DJ or being an event organizer or being anything else that's not in the norm?
What is being better? Being better is subjective, right? It's what's being better for me is not the same as him or as you. So like for me, I don't think there is a better or worse. Everyone just does what they I feel like everyone has their own way. Like that's what one of the things that you kind of like, at least for me, I kind of accepted, is everyone has their way. Whether I like it or not, I don't like involve myself in what they're doing, right? Now, when it comes to like making peace with your decisions, I think it's a general thing. It's not just about like careers or like, it's just your mental process, right? Some people find it very difficult to let go of things. In the past, I've been one of those people, like, especially when it comes to like relationships, things like that. I mean, it's a normal thing, I guess. But I think the older you get, just from my perspective, the older you get, the more you start to understand that the things that aren't meant for you will not be there later, regardless of how much you try. You know, there's been times when, like, even for me, I've really tried, comes to situations, relationships, friendships, where I'm like, I'm doing everything that I can to make it work, and then it doesn't work, and then you feel, oh man, all that effort, whatever. But then later, once you're past that, again, phases in life, once you're past that phase, and you start to look back on it, and you're like, okay, now I understand why it didn't work out. See, so
Self-reflection is
exactly
is
super important for me. Yeah,
You
very.
mentioned relationships. What's happening with you in terms of relationships? Because I mean, your job is demanding, of course, because
Yeah.
it's night sometimes, it's day sometimes, and
Yeah.
at that time you're working in
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a girlfriend or a partner?
Yeah. So I was in a relationship before. I was with someone for about 2 years, exclusively. We lived together. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But for me, I wanted it to. And the thing is, when you have this life, like what I was doing, firstly, there's no like rule book. There's no playbook of how you're supposed to do it. I feel like I was doing something that had never been done, because I was practicing dentistry, I was DJing, producing, I was working for a record label, I was doing my masters. I mean, I'm doing so many different things that I don't even think one person should be able to do such, like, all these things together. And what happened was, it kind of like, and this is just the truth, it kind of like took away the time, that time element that you get to spend with that person, because now I'm so focused, and what I keep feeling is like, there's only a certain window for things like this, okay? When it comes to the kind of opportunities that I got, you have a window. If you don't take it, you will never get it again. So, yeah, I mean, I felt like I had a good understanding with her at the time, where we were like, okay, I'll focus on this, and then, we'll see how it goes. It didn't work out eventually, but I think if you want to have a relationship as a DJ, it can be tricky, because you need someone that understands how these things work. Yeah.
Because also with time you'll be flying out internationally, and
I have been. I've done a couple of gigs already. I started last year.
you did India and
Yeah, so last year I did Addis, I did India, and then I did Cape Town in November. I did 3 events in South Africa, and then this year I've done India. I did a tour this time, which was really nice. And yeah, I'm doing Amsterdam. I'm doing ADE, which is Amsterdam
It's
Dance
big.
Event. Yeah, which is huge for me. I'm playing 3 events there, which is like massive for anyone, anywhere. It's my first time. Now, the thing is, the reason I'm bringing all this up is there's travel involved. There's planning for the travel. Apart from that, there's already what I'm doing, like in terms of event organizing, things like that. If you don't have the person that understands this process, it's difficult, because you can have someone just nagging you, saying, oh, I'm sorry, but like there are people like that who say, oh yeah, you're not spending enough time with me, you're always focusing on your work. And yeah, in as much as that's happening, but I mean, I have to do this. It was one of those things. When it came to my own relationship at the time, I think I was just doing too much, and I didn't necessarily always have the time to be there, to do things that maybe she wanted to do, like over the weekends. Because here's the thing, if I'm playing a Saturday event, that means that whole weekend we can't go anywhere, right? if I'm playing a Saturday event, it also means Sunday I'm dead during the day. That's the only day that you can actually get to spend together, go out during the day, things like that. Those kind of things, they take a hit. Now, unfortunately, last year was my busiest year for events. I did a lot of events. And what was happening was, I think my relationship was taking a hit on that. And again, I don't regret it. It was a learning thing for me as well. I understood now that, you know, I need to do so. This year I've done a lot less events, focused on like things that are more important in terms of like going for quality over quantity. And yeah, I mean, it's you need to find the right person, I feel, if you want to be in that situation.
So that's like a compatibility sort of thing.
100%.
Yeah.
I'll bring this up because someone brought it up before. A couple of people have mentioned to me that dating a DJ is a red flag. Now, I want to address this issue because I think it's a big concept for a lot of people in a lot of different places. Being a DJ means you're constantly surrounded by people. Sometimes those people are women who are very interested in you, even when you show no interest in them. For them, it's like, oh, this guy is famous, he's playing music, blah, blah, blah. They want to sort of like also be in that limelight a little bit. Now, is being a DJ a red flag? No. For me, no. Because I could say, you can't say like a DJ would cheat more than a teacher or a nurse or something else, yeah? I don't think it's related to your job. I think it's related to who you are as a person. Now, if I was still practicing dentistry and I cheated on someone, would it be worse than if I was a DJ and cheating on someone? Probably not. It's more or less the same thing, right? Cheating is cheating for me. Now, personally, I have zero tolerance for cheating, it's in any situation. So I can say very clearly, I've never cheated on anyone, and I never will. I just have never understood why people do it. I have ended relationships when I felt like they weren't working, even though it was difficult, instead of going the route of cheating. But I also have zero tolerance towards people cheating on me. So I have ended relationships because I found out that something like this was going on. So yeah, just to address that, dating a DJ is not a red flag.
Yes, I like that you brought that up. I think that sentence in of itself just comes from projection and insecurity.
100%.
Again, like, I think at the end of the day, like, having a woman who really, really understands what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who you are.
Yeah.
Because if I sit down with you and you tell me you're a DJ and all of a sudden I judge you and say you're a red flag, no, honey, you're a red flag for judging me, you know? I feel that way.
This makes me appreciate my wife more.
That's
Because
great,
she's
man.
been supportive, right? I work Monday
Yeah.
to Saturday and Sundays we're recording. So
Yeah.
man. So again, it comes down to the character of your partner, and you have to find balance and do an inventory check of your character with both personalities and be like, hey, okay, maybe I'll give you this day off. Should we probably on your off day
Do something.
take 1 hour off and balance that out? So my wife and I, we talk. She'll be like, babe, you don't give me time. I'm like, I know, but just give me this few months. But after this few months, guess what we're looking forward to? I'll be like, we're going to this trip, we're doing this. Next year we're doing this. So now I'm kind of marinating the meat before I eat the meat kind of thing. Yeah. But having the conversation is very important.
Yeah.
Especially even now with you, I'm pretty sure you're going to get into other relationships.
Yeah.
Preparing the mindset, this is what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Are you ready for it? And if she says yeah, then it's fine. And if she says no, then even you will be like, okay, I need to go back, step back and be like, hey, do I really want this?
Yeah, I think something that I do that I think is important for any person is when I start to like maybe see someone more seriously and maybe it's going to end up in a relationship. Before we get to that relationship phase, I have a conversation with them to say, look, this is my life. This is how I live my life, lifestyle-wise. It's challenging. I'm out at night sometimes. I meet a lot of people. Sometimes they're women. Not in a dating sense, but obviously when you're at events. And I also put it across to them that I have zero tolerance for cheating. This I will never compromise on. I just tell them from the beginning so that it's very clear that if you cheat on me, that I have is done. No matter how much you say sorry or like, whatever you beg, it's just done. I think these conversations are important in the beginning before you get into that formal relationship phase. Because if you don't have that, the person is starting to understand these things as you're going along, and they might change their mind. They might be like, okay, you know what? This isn't what I signed up for. Done. And you don't want to be in that situation because now by this point, you've put in time, you've put in effort, you have your emotion in terms of emotional attachment.
And now you have to deal with heartbreak.
Now you have to
Which
deal
loves the way of everything. Yeah.
But I think you should get that conversation in from the beginning, because if it needs to end, it would rather end in the beginning. Once you've invested too much time, effort, and all that stuff, I think it hurts more. So, yeah, it's probably best to do that.
But no, I totally get your perspective, because you may invest so much time thinking that it's going to be long term, and then you find out she's got 3 boyfriends on the side with 1 sponsor. So it's tough. It's tough.
That projection.
So, yeah.
But it's great that you bring that up. I feel like a lot of divorce rates in this day and age are because people are afraid to have the difficult conversations in the start.
Yeah.
And then when you, like you said, you go through along the relationship and people start changing their minds.
Yeah.
And then that's what causes the end of a relationship. Very recently, actually had a conversation, like I was seeing someone, and then we had the difficult conversation of like, okay, where do you see yourself being in like, the next year, the next couple of months, and where do I see myself? And they were completely different places. And before you get into like the whole emotional attachment, just get on.
The clarity is to see where it's going, because your mindset will be like, okay, I'm already imagining this will happen. Turns out to be you just built the castle of
Assumptions.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out.
Yeah. So again, clarity and communication are important, because then the thing that I also like try to make clear is this: there should not be any false expectations. Like if there's something that you expect from me that I can't deliver, I will let you know from the beginning, because it doesn't really make sense to, promise someone something and then not deliver on it. And then they keep telling you, oh yeah, but you said, it's very, I think those conversations are key. Like, I don't feel like anyone should be in a relationship without being completely clear on what's going on.
What's your take on compromise though? Let's say you're having that conversation, right? Because I don't want to confuse not involving compromise with, okay, like, yeah, we're going through 2 different directions, and like you need to involve I don't know, do you feel the same? Do you need to involve compromise, or would you not compromise?
But it depends on what exactly is being compromised here. Like if someone wants me to compromise my career, it doesn't make any sense. But if it's something that you can compromise, that's like a habit that's not directly damaging you or your career, then I think maybe it's for the best that you try. But I would not expect someone to say, oh, you know what, I don't want you to be going out. I don't want you to be like playing events. I don't think that's something that I can deliver on. So I'll be very honest and say, look, I'm sorry, but this just doesn't work for me. The other thing, apart from having that, like, or at least telling someone that, is also accepting that you can't deliver. People are sometimes afraid to say, I just can't do it, because maybe they're desperately trying to make it work. Maybe they really like this person. Could be for different reasons.
It's really nice that, you followed your passion. And I don't know, right now, looking back, I know it's just been a month of, not being a dentist, but would you have it, like, are you happy where you're at? Do you feel more fulfilled?
Yeah. I wouldn't change anything. Anything in my life, even the time.
Not about your past, but like right now, in comparison to being a dentist.
Look, the thing is, when you're in a creative industry, there's no ceiling. When it comes to like fixed jobs, you have a ceiling. I felt like with dentistry, I got to a certain point where, like, with my bachelor's, I had hit the ceiling. I was doing all the stuff that I could have done. Now, the only way forward was to do a master's in dentistry, which then would have taken me again a bit further. But then again, there's a ceiling, because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. With creative stuff, with music, with art generally, with dance, there's so many things that you can do, because it's not limited,
Yeah.
right? So I feel for sure. I feel like I'm happy with where I'm going, and I think I still have like a lot to do. I'm not even close to where I want to be, but it's one of those things. Everything takes time. I've understood with my journey that with my process that it will happen at the right time.
I just want to take you back where you said that a lot of people are approaching you. Most events happen Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
and let's say Sunday
Yeah.
in some cases.
Yeah.
So you have about 16 days in a month.
Roughly, but
Yeah.
the thing is, most people, you're saying Thursday, but most people only want the prime days,
So
which is
that's
Friday, Saturday.
Friday, Saturday. So how do you now balance it out? I'm pretty sure your calendar is booked for the whole year.
For Afro House events, electronic music events, yes. My calendar is done for this year for sure. I plan ahead, so it's one of my things. I always plan like months ahead, so it just helps me with like understanding where to put what, and then between those events we put other kind of things, other events. Now, when it comes to people approaching you, you have to. It's also a matter of your opinion, right? It's a matter of like how you understand your space. Being an event organizer is not easy. Yeah, you have certain expectations from the crowd who are like your regulars. They have certain expectations of like when they come in, they want to experience something in a particular way. Now, let's say I have like an Afro House event that I do regularly, and all of a sudden I decide, okay, you know what? Today's not Afro House. Today it's disco. So those people coming in, if they don't know, if they're expecting the regular thing, they get thrown off completely. This is one of the things that people don't understand. So like Alchemist generally is not an electronic music club on a weekly basis, right? We do these events because it's something special. We bring in some international guys, like and top international guys. Like most of the people I brought in within this year, at least 50% of the artists I brought in have never played in Africa.
Do you want to mention?
Not just Kenya.
Do you want to mention them? I think Marasi was
one of them. Josie. There's a whole bunch of them still coming. Yeah, but Aaron Hirsch this Saturday that we're doing. There's so many people, man. Like, and it's one of those things. There's a lot of work and there's a thought process and there's like things like we sit down, we discuss all this stuff over and over again. Like, I mean, like we can talk about this every day on the phone just to like plan these things, right? And for someone to just approach me and be like, oh no, just put me into your thing. This is why it doesn't work that way, right? And for me, the way I think is like, when I've thought of like the way the calendar is set out, I want it to feel I want people to experience things in a particular way. And if you don't fit into that for that time, unfortunately, I will not put you in. Yeah. Mostly also because people come in and be like, can I do this on Saturday? This coming, like it's very last minute. It's things where like people don't understand that there's a process. Now, if you come to me and say 3 months from now, then maybe, yeah.
What I like about you is every time I see your stories and stuff, you always put that personal touch. So, be it Marasi, Josie, you're with them from the moment they land till the end.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people are doing it. And I think that's why it makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, when you give them all, you have to respect them, of course. They've come all the way. And then also, you know, sometimes when you're friendly with them and show your real side and they're comfortable with you, it just becomes easier. And every time I've seen you play, dude, you have a certain energy that just makes people happy. So you got to take that home because not many people can put a smile on you.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
In the start, when you used to be serious, but now you smile, which is nice. I'm sure people have told you that.
It's one of those things. Actually, it was something that I was very self-conscious about. I think in the beginning, I was like just very fixated on just making sure I don't make a mistake, like, because I felt like any mistake is like the end of the world. And I started to realize that I think, okay, here's the thing. When you're performing for any group of people, their attention is fully on you. Anything you do, even a slight facial, expression, whatever, they'll realize that. And what was happening is I think all of my pictures and videos were me like scrolling or like, you know, like stressed. And I was like, oh man, every time I got like pictures from like our photographers, it was just, oh, gosh, it was just like me scrolling. Cause okay, the other thing is I don't pre-plan sets. So I'm playing for the crowd based on what I see them reacting to. Now, this is really difficult to do because I have to now think, okay, this is what they reacted to. Now I have to start looking for something similar. Whereas like most people will just like already like have their set playlist, whether it works for the crowd or not, they'll just play it anyway. Now, I really like, I never pre-plan. I don't know anything I'm going to play until I start playing it. And then I'm like, okay, this direction. Sometimes I'll try something a bit weird, but like, you know, just to test it out and see if it works. If it doesn't work, back to, yeah, but man, all my pictures were just, they're just me like scrolling or like really stressed. And there's I don't know if you guys know Rampa, he's one of the kind of music guys. So he did an interview recently where he said like he has the same process. He doesn't like pre-plan or anything. So like also for him, he's like, you know, you guys think like I'm having a good time, but I'm there like scrolling. I'm like, shit, you know, I have to. Yeah. So this is one of the things, like when I started to realize, man, all my pictures, all my videos were me like really serious. Yeah. And then I started to be like, okay, even if I'm feeling that, I should like not show it because everyone's attention's on me. And I want some of my pictures to be decent at least. So yeah, that's kind of like one of those things.
Then you're so funny, you have a good time. Right?
You know, the thing is, yeah, for me, it's not even about like how I feel. I feel like for me, the people around me, like the energy that they bring is what I like respond to. Yeah. If you are in a restaurant and everyone's sitting down and you're playing a great set, but like no one's responding to it, everyone's sitting down, not caring about the music, then I don't feel like you, as at least for me as a DJ, I don't really enjoy that much. But when there's people around you, even if there's like 10 people just around you and you're playing and they're, you know, they have that energy and stuff like that, I think that's where things really like, you know, like you really feel like I'm doing something. Yeah, you know, and I like that feeling more, I think.
No. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind in music?
In music? Okay, the music legacy is cool, but like I just want to leave a general legacy. Okay, so I can break it down into different parts. I think I just want to be remembered for being a cool person. Like I don't feel like I want to be remembered for being like an asshole or something like that. Like I would rather be remembered for who I am. And I've always tried to live in a way where if I had to die right this second, then I would be okay with it. And I am. I think I've tried my best to live it like without any regrets. I've tried to always have good relations with people. When it comes to music, I think I just want to make music that is timeless. So I want people to be able to listen to it like 10 years from now, 20 years from now and be like, okay, this is still great, you know? It doesn't have to be the same people as now. It could be like, you know, the younger generation listening to it. I think being appreciated for your art is really cool. Like it gives you a sense of like fulfillment. And I think if I can get that at some point, I don't know if okay, there are people who say we're fans, but you know, I don't ever feel like I'm a public figure. I don't take myself as such. I'm just happy to do what I'm doing.
You're my friend.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just saying.
Super. No, we're super grateful that you came through.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. This is, I think, the thing that I would like to say about this forum in general is it's not, some of the conversations we've had today are not easy. And if this can help anyone out there just to get a sense of perspective, or even in the slightest way to like, you know, understand themselves or understand their situation better, then why not? I don't feel like that, like anything that I've said or whatever today would come off in a negative way to anyone, right? So yeah, so it's one of those things where if we can just keep spreading positivity, talk to each other. Sometimes as guys, I think there's that whole like masculine element and you're like, no, I have to be my own man and I have to be the king. And this is in everything, in work, life, in families. Like I've seen it in so many things. I think more important than that is just like, how can we help each other to grow? Because it's not about me being better than you. I think we can make it such that everything grows, us and the environment around us. I think that is more important to me.
So with that, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode of the Mets Forum. We really hope you enjoyed having AFU on board. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it.
And we will see you guys next week.
Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.